All right. Hello and welcome to our quick mini webinar on Google Forms. If you could do me a favor in the chat and just say that you're here. I've been using the Google Meet attendance, which has worked really great. And then sometimes it's not working great. So that way I have a record that you were here so I can give you credit for your half hour for being here. You just have to write hello or a hi or something or here, whatever. Doesn't make a difference what. I'm going to try and use that right now just so I can see if it wants to work. No, it doesn't want to. All right, let's try this. I'm going to do a new sheet. See if that works. It's working. All right, let's see. All right, so while that's figuring itself out, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to hop into Google Forms. So in the chat too, as we're going through, thank you all of you for writing here. If you could just tell me, yes, I've used it before, or no, I've never used it before. I'm a pro, I'm a new user to it, anything like that. It helps me gauge as far as how we're doing it. Used it, great. Awesome, here we go. I got some more people coming in. Intermediate is good, use it. Never used it, okay, we got some beginners. Great, wonderful. Good, so Google Forms is one of those things that when I first started using it, I was just like, all right, it's a quick little like survey kind of thing, but really there's so much you can do with it. And I'll go over some of the ideas and ways that I've seen it used, and we'll kind of build it together. So you're welcome to just watch for the half hour, or you can hop on and do them with me, completely up to you if you want to split screen and do that. So we're gonna hop into Forms. With Google Forms, you can grab it from anywhere you can get to your waffle. So you can be in Google Drive, you could be just in the Google search page, you can be in Gmail, and if you go into your waffle, Google Forms is the purple one that says Forms. So let's go over to a Google Form, my Google Form page here, and you can see I still have the waffle up at the top in Google Forms, and you're going to see just some of the forms that I've made recently here. I can always sort it just like I can with Google Slides and Docs and all of those. Sort by anyone owned by me or not owned by me if I want to organize them and kind of look at them. You can see that I use them for surveys. You can use them for scavenger hunts. You can use them for choose your own adventure activities. You can use them for quizzes. A lot of people use them for Breakout EDU. So there's lots of different ways you can use Google Forms. So let's start a fresh one. We're going to click on the little plus in the bottom right-hand corner. You're going to see that you can create a form or you can use a template. And I want to show you the templates because I think they're underutilized, but they have some really great ones. So it's going to open up to your school templates first, but I'm going to go over to the general templates.
Excuse me, please. I cannot see your screen. I don't know. Are you presenting?
I am presenting. Here, let me stop and start again. Can the rest of you see my screen? You are? Okay, so it might be you. Okay, so I'm gonna, I shut back out of it. I'm going back into it. And I'm gonna hit share again. And see if that kind of refreshes it for you. If not, I would say hop out and hop back in. And then maybe that will work for you. Or see if you're, well, I guess if your camera shut off, it would only be you. So that you wouldn't see. So yeah, try that. Hop out and hop back in, see if that works. And I will show you how to see your student responses. Yes, definitely. So I'm over in Google Forms. And then you can see these are just some of the templates and ideas as far as how you can use it. So party invites, RSVPs, finding times. You know, there's different ones you can do, customer feedback, job applications. Teachers use them, you know, when you do class parties, sometimes they'll use them. So I'm just going to start with a blank one though. I'm going to click on the little create new form, and one is going to come up. I always start with the title of my form. So maybe this one is going to be, let's see, I don't know, we're just going to call it something fun. So we'll call it Earth Day because Earth Day is tomorrow, right? So we're going to call it something here. As soon as I do that, if I click up at the top, it's going to change the name to be the same. I like to keep the title and what it is up here the same, so it helps me find it. And then you're going to see that I can put in a form description. So, please complete whatever your directions are. You can give them resources, anything you want in there, anything you want to give them. So maybe you want to link them out to earthday.org. You can link that out, whatever you want to do for whatever you want to give them. So you'll see I have this first box. It always gives you the first one to kind of get started. So I'm going to click in it. And you can ask any type of question that you'd like. So I always start with name, and I know that seems silly, but if you don't start with a name, it won't know who is filling out the form. So unless you're doing it anonymous, you need to put a name box in. So you can do first name, last name, however you want to set up your Google Sheet is really how you want to set up your Google form. You'll see that artificial intelligence automatically will say, oh, if you're doing name, you probably want a short answer. So it's going to default to that. But if you say, no, I want something longer, you could open up and choose any of these options, and we'll kind of go through these. But we're going to stick with short answer because name makes sense there. I can add in a picture if I want. I can label this as a required question by toggling on the button or toggling it off. Obviously, I'd want this to be on, so I would keep it required. If I wanted this to be first name, let's say, and then I wanted the next one to be last name. So I don't have to restart all of that. I can click this little button at the bottom, which is the duplicate button, and it will create that as well. So then all I have to change is that to last name. So now I've made 2 questions. So maybe what I want to do to kind of lighten the load for your students is have this be a section. So that way students can continue on to different sections. On the right-hand side here, you're going to see where you can add your questions, import questions, add a title and description, add an image, a video, or you can add a section. I'm going to add another section. From here, it's going to, based on the answers of this one, you choose what section you're going to go to the next one. Let me admit the new people coming in here. All right, so I'm going to have it continue to the next section, and then I can title the section if I want, or I can just start adding questions. Once I add in the question, I can go on to a different kind. So I can say, what year was the first Earth Day? And Earth Day was 50 years ago. What was 50 years ago from now? Somebody give me the math for me. Is that 1970? So let's say 1970, 1980, 2000, and 2020. Let's say it's the first one. All right. So I can put in this as a multiple choice question. Again, I can add an image per question, or I can add an image for the question, however I want to do this. And then again, I can click on required if I want this to be a required question. If I want to continue on with these answers and this kind of information, I can hit duplicate and I can go on from there. All right, so let's add another question. While I'm in this question, I can say, you know what, I don't want a multiple choice this time. I want a paragraph. When I do this, it's going to give a larger box for paragraph. Name something you have done for Earth Day. All right, and then they can do a paragraph. You could say, please add 5 to 7 sentences or whatever you'd like it to be. Click the plus again just to show you another kind. The check boxes are great if you want more like a survey or a poll. You know, which of the following activities have you done? You know, and you might say plant a tree, recycle paper, reduce my water use, or whatever it happens to be. All right. Again, I can put it as required. Going down to another question. The drop down is going to give options that drop down. So I don't use this one a lot, but you can give different things where you add options on a drop down kind of scale. So I'm not really going to show that one that much today. I think of it as like an advanced feature. You could upload something. You can put in a linear scale. So you can say, how good are you at composting? And you can say 1 is not good at all, and I'm an expert. And then they're going to pick on a scale 1 to 5. So I could have done this as a survey for you to ask you how comfortable you were with Google Forms. Going down with the multiple choice grid, it's exactly what you expect it to be, where you have rows and columns. And if I do a checkbox grid, it's the same thing, but they're going to be able to check from the rows and columns. So I'm going to keep this one as the linear scale. I lost my labels. Not good at all. Expert. We'll just do that. Okay. So I'm going to click the plus, and you can see that we've used all of this information here. I can also add in a date box, and that's going to make them put in the date that they filled out the form. Or I can put in a time box, and it's going to make them put in a time. All right. And there's different ways you can use that based on what you would like. So you could change this to be anything you want. If you decide, you know what, I don't need this question, you click the little trash can and that goes away. All right. So I've got my basic questions here. I have 2 sections. Just to kind of show you some other things that you can do with it. You can notice that it's purple. They always default to purple, but you can change some of that. If you go up to the top where you have the little paint kind of easel kind of thing, not easel, whatever those things are called. You can pick different headers by choosing the ones that are already in here. It's a palette, that's the name. You can choose any of the ones that are in here. You can upload a photo from your computer, or you can grab a photo if you have photos from your photo gallery or wherever. So let's just say I picked the jelly beans. It's going to put a header of something pretty up there. It's going to pick a color for you, but you can change the theme color. And this is new. It used to be that it always defaulted to something, and I swear it was always pink. So it's nice that you have some options now to change the look of it. You can change the background color to be darker or lighter, depending on whatever you'd like. You can change the font style into 4 different ones, so you can make it more playful, more formal, however you'd like it to be. So since this is Earth Day, I feel like I should have grabbed something earthy, right? So they have like an outdoors one or travel, that'll work. So we'll grab something with trees, and then maybe we'll put it green. All right, so whatever you have, it will stay there. Now it looks a little prettier. All right, the other ones you have, this little puzzle one, are add-ons, and Google Forms does have some add-ons that are built in. I don't have any on mine, but there's a really great one that will allow you to check all of the items. So let's say you're doing a quiz and you want to make sure all of them are turned on as required. They have a add-on that will do that for you. When you click on the eye, it gives you a preview mode. All right, so you can see what it'll look like for people that are filling it out. You see the 2 top ones, and then when you hit next, it's going to say these are required before you can go on to the next part of it. Going into the gear, you have a ton of options. Under the general, you can collect email addresses. This is important if you want to make sure you have attendance, but you don't have the name one in there. You can restrict it within your school organization. You can limit it that it can only do it once. So if you're setting a quiz, obviously you'd want to click that one. You could allow students to edit it after they submit it. So maybe they're going to say, here's what I'm going to write my thesis on, but as things change, they can go back and change it again. You can allow them to see other people's work or keep it completely private. All right, so you have that option in there. I'll leave that one off. In the presentation mode, you can show a progress bar that kind of tells you how far you've come. You can shuffle the question order so it looks different for each student, which is better in a classroom. That way no one can look onto each other's. And you can show link to submit another response if you're allowing them to do it more than once. And then you can put it in any kind of message. So I can write happy birthday. All right, whatever I want it to be. If this was a quiz, so I'm going to come over to quiz. I click on make it a quiz. I can turn on locked mode so that students can't go onto other tabs within their Chromebook. I can release the grade immediately, or I can choose to do it later. And I could choose to let them know if they got answers correct, what the point values were, that sort of thing. So let's say I'm making this a quiz. I want to show you what I have to change. So if I go into this section that I have this question, this multiple choice, I'm going to click back into it. And now that it's a quiz, I'm given other options at the bottom here. I have the answer key that I want to then say, this is the correct answer. And then I'm going to give it points. So maybe I'm going to give this a 5-point question. I can also give answer feedback if I want to say why, it started in such a year, whatever it happens to be. You click done. And then that's going to stay, and you see that green check there that's showing the correct answer. All right, same thing in this paragraph one. Name something you did for Earth Day. In answer key, I can actually put in some words, or I can just say, you know what, I'm going to make this a 5-point question, but I'll grade it later. You can give some feedback. With the check boxes, again, the answer key, like if this is a choose more than one, you can say, I want them to be able to do that. And you can say all of them should be checked so that they get full points. And then again, with the linear scale, you can do the same thing again, where you can give it some points. Okay. If you don't want it to be a quiz, all you have to do is go over to that gear, click on quizzes, and shut that off, and all of that goes away. All right. So we'll keep that on for right now so I can show you a few things. So let me do this. I'm going to send this quiz to you. I already told you the answer to the one multiple choice question, but it'd be nice if 1 or 2 of you could get it wrong. I'm going to drop that into the chat for you, and I want you to fill it out so I can show you how feedback works. I'm gonna do it too. And I'm gonna get it wrong on purpose. All right, so now I've finished my response, and I see others are filling in their responses. So while I have this open, I can see that some responses are coming in. Right now I have a 2, there's a 3. So they're starting to come in. There's 4, 6. How many people do we have on here? 16. Awesome. A few more of you just need to fill out your answers there.
Miss Lori, could you say how you did the meet attendance, please?
Oh, yes. It is a Chrome extension called Meet Attendance that I've added on, and it stays under the People tab. And you'll see that I have this little button here now, and I can choose whether to put it on a sheet, like a Google Sheet, a new one, or keep it on the same one. And once I click on that, it opens up as a new Google Sheet, and it shows the attendance of everyone that's there. It's not perfect. It goes red on me a lot, and I don't know what I'm doing that's causing that. So I find if I do it once, it works great. But if I do it several times, so like I'll often do it early and then people join late, and then I'll do it again, and then more people join and I'll do it again. So by that 3rd or 4th time, it doesn't seem to want to work. So try to capture when you have everybody there. But, you know, these are webinars, people hop in and out. So it's hard to always capture everybody that's there. That's why I always say in the chat, just throw in a here so I can make sure you get credit. I don't want anyone to miss out on that.
Thank you.
Sure. All right, so we got about 11 of you who've responded. The rest of you keep sending them in. I'm going to click on responses. So I'm in that Google form still, that same one, that editable one that I did, but now I have information. So I have a summary here where I can see points distribution, my average of how many points, because I, gave point values for things. Don't worry about it, because I have to go in and change some of those. I have a median and I have a range. I can see what they frequently missed. So I can see how many people did the correct responses. And then I did not release the scores. So it's going to say they're not released yet. I can see your first name, your last name. I can see how many people got it right. Thank you for choosing some wrong answers. So we get an actual chart. And then I can see all of your individual responses here for things that you're doing. Bites toothpaste, awesome. For Earth Day. And I can see which activities you've done, and then how you feel about composting. No one here's an expert. We got to work on that. So, so most of you are right in the middle. That's where I am too. All right. So, so you have that information by summary. I can also break it down by question and see that information based on question, or I can even look at it per person. So I submitted mine first. So you're going to see that I have mine here, and then I can go through and see how many points. So I can say they get a point for putting in their name, whatever I want to give them points for, however you want to break it down. I did the wrong answer, so I get a 0. So you can go through and say, oh, this one, I'm going to give them all 5 points, whatever it happens to be. They got 4 out of 4, you can give them the 1 point. However it is, you can break it down and then give them the that information. You click save, and maybe I got an 11 out of 15. I can click release score, and I can decide that I want to send this back. It will send an email and release that score. If you did it right in Google Classroom, it will grade it right in Google Classroom for you. So you always have that option to do it in there if we're doing it as a quiz. The other option you have is you see this little green button at the top. This will create a spreadsheet for you. So I'm going to create a new spreadsheet called Earth Day Responses, and I'm going to click create, and it's going to open up for me. And I'm going to get the time stamp of when they completed it, their email, their scores, and then all the information as far as what they wrote for each one. Each question stays at the top. And then from here, I can create something else. So maybe from here, I want to, create a chart of some sort. I can always create a chart based on what people chose. So if this was their chart, and I dragged it in, now I've got a chart based on that information right in my Google Sheet. All right, so you always have that option as well. Questions about Google Forms?
Hi, this is Michelle Kenny. I just have a question. When you released the score, I'm finding that everybody's handing things in at a different days and different times. And I'm going in and grading, and I can't figure out who I've already released the score to and who I haven't. I'm using a separate checklist on paper.
Yeah, I know. And what you could do is I would have that spreadsheet. You can see the timestamp, and then you can like color code them on there, so you kind of know. I've given this up to. Let me just get this out of here. So maybe like you've released the score on whatever date it happened to be on 4/22. Yeah. So all of these might have it, but anyone that came after 4/22, change that color so you know that you released the score on those dates.
Okay, but there is on that drop down where it says it lists everybody who's completed it, so they could. Okay, right? There's no quick way in that.
Yeah, I mean, you can always release the score again to them, or just never release the score because it does go into Google Classroom for them if you're using Google Classroom.
That was the other thing. I haven't figured out how to grade it in Google Classroom. I'm assigning everything in Google Classroom, but then I'm going into Forms and looking at every response.
So when you're in Classroom, let me go over to Classroom. Okay. If you create a form the way I did, you create the form here, it won't grade it in Classroom for you. If you go into Classroom and into classwork and click create an assignment, if you create the form right from here, it will do it for you.
That's what I'm doing. I'm creating it the way we just did and then adding it.
So create it from Google Classroom. That way it links it to that assignment and it will grade it right in Classroom for you and you don't have to release scores.
Okay.
Can I add something?
Sure.
I have created forms in a separate folder, and then when I attach, I don't attach it. I don't create a new form in the assignment. I attach that previously existing form, and it already has the correct answers. So say there's a quick 6-question kind of quiz with whatever in it, and those correct answers are there. When I attach that form as an assignment with nothing else in that assignment, so that the form is the only thing. Then when a student completes that form, I see in the Google Classroom gradebook thing, I see that it has an underscore and then let's say a slash and a 6 to say that the student has completed it, but there's nothing graded, or it will say _/6, and then when I go to the assignment itself, let's say for example on your screen there you see trivia quiz. If you go up to the words trivia quiz, click that, and then you're in the assignment, and then if you go right underneath your waffle, it says import grades. You can click that and then say import, and then when you you have to go back 2 times on your back arrow. If you go back arrow 2 times, you'll be back in the grade book. And then, oh, it doesn't have the numbers. Now, I don't know why yours doesn't have the numbers, but
Nobody
mine
has
does.
completed this one. That's why. Nope,
Oh, okay.
it's incomplete. But
You
yeah,
can see over here on your left, you have April 24th quiz. It says 5
Yep.
out of 5 draft. You know,
Yep.
had there been other students who had completed that thing, there was the underscore. If you go down to
Yep.
Margaret Jones or
So let's
somebody,
try
you
it
can
here.
see
Let's import from here
Yep.
and
And
see if
then you
that
can
works.
see the grades that way. And I don't have to create the form every time when I post the assignment. I could have a pre-created form. And
Right.
it's been working for me.
Yep. Yeah. And you can try it that way for sure. And that will work. And if you import the grades in here, you don't have to release the grades back to them because it'll show up here. So yeah, you absolutely can do it that way. I like it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It worked. I was able to see it on my own.
Yeah. Oh yeah. On yours, because you probably have some. I only have dummy classes because I don't have any.
Right. I imported them right away. That was great. Thank you.
Do that, and then they can check Google Classroom. You don't have to release back. It'll save you a step. Save you a little time. All right. Any other questions on our quick half hour on Google Forms?
Is there a way on Forms to put a link? It says video, but it will only do a YouTube video. It won't do a link to like Mystery Science or something.
Oh, like you want to add a link in. So you want, I'm trying to think hang on. So you're in here and you want to add like a link into the question? Is that what you mean?
Or even a link into the directions. So they have the link all in one instead of doing 2 separate posts, the link and the form.
Right. So I'm just going to grab one here. I'll just paste it in and then they'll just have to click on it. So when I put this into preview, it goes live for them and they just click on it.
Oh, I have to preview it for it to go live.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't change it as pretty as you can, like in a Google slide where you can call it something else and then link it. But it will stay as a link for you. So yeah, you can totally put links in there for them that way.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to drop my email in the chat. And then if you don't get my newsletters and you'd like to every day, that has a link to when all of these webinars are happening, just let me know. Just send me a quick email and I will add it on. If there's ever a topic that you are interested in, let me know. I'm doing these every day. So, you know, me coming up with topics is not always easy, but if there's something like, gee, I'd really like to know more advanced, like that was a basic Google Forms, maybe you want a more advanced one, we can certainly look at that. All right. So thanks so much for coming. I'm sorry, Richard?
If there's time, I have a question.
Sure.
So I have on the Google Classroom, I've got a section that has a daily assignment. And I've been trying to have it so that the students can have it be in their to-do list. So every day I've been posting it again and again and again. But the page is getting tedious. It's getting huge and like long. And so I've been trying to keep it manageable. So it's a reading thing. You know, I'm an ELA teacher. I have the kids read and like, okay, let me know what page you're on. You know, how long did you read today, kind of thing, right? You know, if you can read a bunch of days this week, cool. And it all goes to the same Google form because it's really the same posting. It's the same form every time. It all goes to the same spreadsheet. What I'm finding is that if it was a daily assignment that had its own discrete kind of, you know, beginning day, ending day, and then the students would, how am I going to express this? Say, for example, there's a student, he reads 5 days in a week. There's no way for the student to keep track of, did I read, you know, for his mom or somebody to look and say like, oh, you know, he didn't read 3 times this week or something like that. Is there a way to share the contents of the spreadsheet, but not to everybody, just so that, say, Lori can look and see how many times Lori has appeared on the spreadsheet, but say Brandon can't see Lori's information, he could only see his own. Is there
His
a way to
own,
peek
right.
into a spreadsheet to see your information only? That's my question.
So not in a spreadsheet unless you wanted to grab that line out, but that would be messy.
Right.
But well, no, I take that back, because if you had a spreadsheet from this Earth Day one again, let me go back out to it. And you only wanted to look at Lori's, if I hit the Explore button, it's going to give me options, and it will show a different pivot table. So it'll show their information based on how you have it set up, and you can set up that information through a pie chart or a chart of some sort. So that might be a better way if you want to do it in a spreadsheet. The other option is in the actual form itself. When you have the individual response, you can print that one, and you can print it as a PDF, and then they'd have all the information they filled out on that sheet, on that Google Doc. So I'm going to save it as a PDF. It's going to show anything they've ever filled out. So if there was more than, this one is just going to show today's, but it would show all of their, oh no, I guess it would only show every time they filled it out. They could save it as a PDF. Yeah, that's a toughie. I think your best bet is to use Google Sheets, but use that Explore feature.
In the past, I did a thing where I had, using Google Forms and a spreadsheet and a chart, I had students read a book, and then we were writing haiku poetry about different events in the book. So the questions were, what page inspired your haiku? And then your haiku, of course, So then that all ended up in a spreadsheet, and then I used the chart from the spreadsheet, which then I posted on my static web page.
Okay.
Because this was before Google Classroom existed. So, but I had the form, right? So the form would refresh with data from the spreadsheet. And so you had, your x-axis and your y-axis, right? So along the bottom on the x, it would be the page numbers, page 1 through, let's say, 100. And then on the y-axis going up, it would be how many poems had been written about stuff from those pages.
Sure.
So I was thinking that there may be a way to, but I don't want to reveal student information. But if I did a similar thing where it's, student number 1 responded 2 times, student number 2 responded 5 times,
Right.
I'm not sure if that's the way to go, because I want to protect student confidentiality. I don't want to, set up a situation of competition among the students. I just want to be able to get information individually to people about what they've done and not done. So I'm not sure how to do.
I would think
ideas?
pivot
Anybody?
tables would be, you're going to have to create individual pivot tables per line, per kid. So you'd have to sort the data and then do it based on that. Like this one, I only have 1 per person, but if you had all the data on one sheet, you'd have to create a pivot table that would show, here's your data, and you'd have to create, you could create different tabs for each student and have that information just drop into their tab, and then just share that one sheet out with the students. It'd be a lot of work.
It would be, and then it would have to be repeated every time there was new information, right? Or would it be able to update?
It should update. If you set it up correctly, it'll pull the newest data without you having to update daily. And you'd have to make it shareable for the student with that sheet. So you'd have to create, it'd be a lot of steps, but you'd have to create a link between the original data, hide that sheet from view so students don't see it, because you can do that on the sheet itself. Is you can hide it. All right, see where it says hide sheet. I can't hide this because there's only one sheet. But if I had it one for each student, I could hide that original sheet so they don't see it and only see theirs. But it'd still be a lot of work because you'd have to hide for each student. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then link the data back.
So what if I created a new assignment with a spreadsheet that is attached, or maybe not a spreadsheet, maybe just a Google document that's attached to each student, so each student gets his own copy, and then pasted those tables into each student's document, and then made that document view only.
Yeah, you could definitely do that. And then
And would
yep,
that work?
it should. Yeah.
I mean, it would be complicated to do the very first time because you'd set it up for, you know, the masses. It would take
Yeah.
forever to do, but once it was done, then it would be updated live anytime anybody looked at it, right?
Yes, it would be because you're embedding it as a live document, not as a flat image. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so thank you for just having the conversation with you about like what would work, wouldn't work, seems to have at least given me a path possibly to go on.
Okay.
But they
It sounds
want
like
to
you're
share
doing
this
yourself a lot of
information
work.
with kids, but I don't know how to do it and keep their privacy.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. The privacy is an important part. Having an individual document would help definitely, where you're linking just that page to each of their documents. But the setup is going to take a lot of time. Yep.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Sure. Are there any other questions? Yeah, the video is going to be put on the SMORE newsletter. I always put all the links to the recordings there, so you'll have access to it. And yeah, I don't put the chat part, but I put the meet on there, so you'll have access to it. Any other questions? I saw some of you hung on. All right, then have a wonderful day. I will be the last to leave, so I can hang up and close out the recording. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.